3,000 years ago, calling someone an Asur was a compliment. This is the story of how a word got cancelled. If you have ever skipped a Wikipedia article on Hindu cosmology, you'll likely have a very tidying filing system in your head. Good guys go in the glowing sky box. Bad guys go in the underground facts box. Simple, efficient, entirely wrong. Let's examine the oldest records we have. The Rig Veda. The word Asur appears about 88 times. 88 times. That is not a typo. Some Bronze Age intern was very enthusiastic. And it is not used for demons. It is used for the good guys. Agni, the fire god, Asur. Indra, the king of gods, Asur. Varuna, he is basically middle management for Asur operations. The word comes from the root Asu, meaning vital breath. So originally, Asur simply meant the spirited one, the mighty lord. Roughly translates to guy who is alive and owns it. This is a flex. Which raises the obvious question. How did mighty lord become demon with fangs? Answer, politics. And a messy breakup. 4,000 years ago, the ancestors of the Indians and the Iranians shared the common language and a common religious tradition. They worshipped the same gods, they used the same names, they told versions of the same myths. Then their paths diverged. One group ended up in the Indian subcontinent, the other in the Iranian plateau. Both kept the inherited vocabulary. They just stopped agreeing on what it meant. In Iran, they do the opposite. In the Zoroastrian text, the supreme god is Ahura Mazda. Ahura is just Asur with an accent. So in Iran, the Asur is god. And the demons? They are called the Devas. Same word, same etymology. One culture made him god, the other made him Satan. The difference was about 800 miles. And a mountain range. And then the loop closes. The Persians, the Zoroastrians, eventually migrate back to India. We know them today as the Parsis. So, in modern India, the people who worship the Asurs live right next door to the people who were taught they were the demons. It's a linguistic feedback loop that took 1,000 years to complete. Now, once you know the words got swapped, the obvious next question is who swapped them and why? Because it turns out the Devas and the Asuras aren't even different species. They are half-brothers. And one of them got cursed with 1,000 eyes for being a creep. But I'm a creep. I'm a Veda. Indra, the king of gods, was once cursed with 1,000 eyes for trying to seduce another man's wife. He is the protagonist. Let me explain how Hindu cosmology actually works. The war between Devas and Asura isn't a war between species. It is a custody battle, a multi-millennia, legally unresolved, violently litigated custody dispute between half-brothers. Meet Sage Kashyapa, the genetic bottleneck of the universe. He had two wives. Aditi gave birth to the Adityas, the Devas. Diti gave birth to the Daityas, the Asur. Hindu cosmology runs on a naming convention you would flunk out of CS for. This recontextualizes the entire war. The Devas and the Asur are not enemies. They are family. The conflict was not about DNA. It was about real estate, like all Indian households. The Devas inherited Swarg, penthouse, 24-hour Apsara service, floor-to-ceiling windows. The Asur got Patal, basement. It smells like sulfur and you don't get a view. And there is exactly one elevator. And the Devas have the keys. And this is where the logic breaks. The Asur believed, often correctly, that they were stronger than the tenants above. If the Asurs are evil by definition, they should act evil. But most of them didn't. Enter Prahlada, born Asur royalty, son of Kashyapa, who absolutely hated Vishnu. Like, banned the name hated. He banned the name in his kingdom. Imagine being so committed to hating one specific guy that you make the HR rewrite the entire dictionary. Prahlad, meanwhile, was calm, peaceful, devout. Demon father, demon kingdom, demon curriculum. Prahlad turned out to be a saint. An absolute cutie, if you like. The bigger problem was Prahlad's grandson, King Mahabali. Mahabali was efficient. Zero crime, perfect justice. He was running a more capable administration than the gods were. Mahabali was the only ruler in cosmic history who fixed potholes on schedule. The Devas did not celebrate this. They initiated a coup. Not because he was wicked, because he was making them look bad on quarterly reviews. Which brings us to Indra, the king of the Devas. Early texts, hero. Later texts, nervous landlord who's afraid of getting evicted. He is constantly terrified that someone, an Asura or a human sage, will meditate hard enough to take his position. So what does he do? Self-improvement? No, he cheats. He sends celestial nymphs to distract them. He shape-shifts to mess with people's wives. Her name was Ahalaya. That went poorly. He shape-shifted into her husband, got caught, got cursed with 1,000 eyes covering his body. The original version of the curse is significantly worse, but YouTube will not let me say it what it actually was. Look it up. He is the insecure manager who sabotages his employees so nobody realizes he doesn't do anything. This is the cosmic equivalent of cancelling your co-worker's cloud subscription right before their deadline, then changing the password, then watching them try to debug code unaided like it's 2022. So no, this is not good versus evil. There was one moment in history where the rivalry had to pause. The Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean. The Devas had lost their immortality, which is a bummer when you're supposed to be a god. They were weak. They needed the Amrit, the nectar, to survive. But you can't churn the cosmic ocean alone. You need muscle. So they signed a treaty with the Asura. Help us churn, and we split the nectar 50-50. And they churned for 1,000 years. With a snake as a rope around a mountain, balanced on a turtle. I want to stress that even inside the source material, this is described as exhausting. This is Hindu cosmology in one image. Progress requires opposing forces. But when the nectar finally appeared, the Devas did some math. And they decided the deal was flexible. This is the moment in every contract where the lawyers add subject to revision. The Devas just skipped the lawyers. If you are an Asura, this is the moment you realize the system is rigged. Which raises the final question. Why does the system exist at all? Because the universe isn't a destination. It is a stress test. Without the Asuras, the Devas get lazy. Without Devas, the Asuras burn everything down. Neither side is supposed to win. Remember the ocean? The Devas pulled one way, the Asuras pulled the other, the ocean churned, the nectar surfaced. If either side had stopped pulling, nothing would have come out. Just two exhausted teams and a snake with rope burns. And that is the entire point of the system. Cosmology in one image. The avatar descends, not to end conflict, but to reboot it. And here's the part nobody mentions. The Dev versus Asura thing isn't out there. It's in your head. The Dev is the part of you that tells you to go to bed early. The Asura is the part that says, one more episode. You are not even that tired. Both are wrong. Both are also you. You don't get peace by killing one of them. You get growth by letting them pull in opposite directions and seeing what surfaces. The goal is not victory. The goal is to keep churning. Pull the rope.